set up the game, place the 16 border cards around in a rectangle to form the edge of the playing area. Make sure you place the cards in numerical order from 1 to 16, with each number in the top left corner of the card. One thing to note is that each of these cards has two different ways to explain what the function of each of the cards do. One is done by symbols, the other is done by text. Feel free to lay them out whichever way you feel is right. Feel free to turn the cards over if you need an explanation of what they do at any time. Shuffle the goods cards and tribe cards separately, and then draw 9 cards, 5 goods cards and 4 tribe cards, and lay them up face up in the center spaces. Continue laying the cards out in the goods and tribes pattern until the entire center of the playing area is filled up. Place the remaining tribe cards next to the tribal expansion border card. The remaining goods cards can be placed next to the caravan border card. Place all of the gold, goods tokens, and victory point tokens near the side of the board to form a general supply. Place the gray robber figure next to the number 1 border card. Each player will get 3 Targi figures and 2 tribe markers of their color. Each player will also get 2 salts, 2 dates, 2 peppers, 1 gold, and 2 victory point markers with a total value of 4. Determine which player was the last player to eat a date and give them the first player marker. If neither player has ever eaten a date, whoever has the blue player markers gets the first player marker. Once you've done everything that I have stated, you are ready to begin. The game plays over a series of rounds, with each round divided into 5 phases. Moving the robber, placing targets, placing tribe markers, carrying out actions, and uncovering new goods and tribe markers and changing the starting player. Each round of the game begins with advancing the robber. To advance the robber, you will move the robber clockwise to the next border card. In the case of the first round, you will move the robber onto the noble card. A target cannot be placed on a card that is occupied by the robber, which I will get into later on. If the robber ever gets to a raid card, then a raid will occur, which I will also get to later on. Once you have moved the robber, you will then move into phase 2, which is playing targets. On your turn, starting with the first player, each player will place one of their targets onto one of the border cards on the outside to say which action they would like to take. There are 4 restrictions you must keep in mind when placing a target. You cannot place a target in the same space that the robber is standing. You cannot place a target in one of the 4 raid corners. You cannot place a target in a space that one of your target is already standing, or in a space that one of your opponent's target is already standing. And you cannot place a target on a card that is opposite of an opposing player's target. For example, if the white player had chosen this card here, I could not then, on my turn, take my target and place it on this card, because this card is opposite of my opponent's target. I could, however, place it over here because there is no opponent player's target opposite of that card. After both players have placed their targets on the outside of the board, you will then move into phase 3, which is to place tribe markers. Tribe markers are an opportunity for you to have extra actions on your turn when taking actions. To place a tribe marker, draw an imaginary line from each of your targets to the opposite side. For example, if this target's line goes across to here, and this target's line goes across to here, these 2 targets' lines will cross right here. So you will place a tribe marker in that space. For another example, this target's line goes across to here, this one crosses to here, these 2 targets' lines will cross to here, so you will place a tribe marker there, and so on and so forth. One thing to note, if a player has placed 2 of their targets in the same row or column, there will just be 1 crossing point, which means that player will only have 1 of their tribe markers placed on the board. Once all of the try markers that can be placed have been placed, you will then move on to phase 4, which is to carry out actions. Starting with the first player, each player is allowed to carry out all of the actions that are possible from their targets and their tribe markers. Once all of the actions have been taken, the second player will then carry out all of their actions. The order that a player carries out their actions is up to the player. However, each action must be completed before taking the next action. A player may also choose to not carry out any given action. I'll explain the actions of both the center cards and the border cards a little bit later. When a player completes an action on one of the border cards, they will take their Targi and place it back to their supply, but the border card will remain in place. When an action has been taken on one of the center cards, the player who took that action will take their tribe marker back to them, then discard that card that was taken into the appropriate discard pile, then immediately replace it with the card of the opposite type face down. In this example, the blue player had taken an action on a goods card, so that goods card is discarded and replaced with a tribe card. In another example, if this player takes the action with this tribe's card, this tribe's card is removed and it will be replaced with a goods card face down. If at any point the goods draw pile runs out, shuffle the discarded goods cards to form a new draw pile. Before I continue, I will now go on to explain the different actions that are in the game, starting with the goods cards. If a goods card has 1 or 2 goods, a gold, or a victory point token, you will take the corresponding tokens that match that card. For example, if you took this card, you will get a salt and a date. If you took this card, you will get a victory point token. If a goods card shows all 3 goods with forward slashes between them, then that means the player is allowed to take one of the 3 goods from that card of their choice. One thing to note is that if it should happen that the good that you would like to take is no longer available in the supply, the player can temporarily note their possession on a piece of paper. The next card to talk about are the tribe cards. Whenever a player takes an action on a tribe card, they will immediately take that tribe card and place it face up in front of them. They must then immediately pay the cost of the tribe card in the form of goods or gold. If you are not able to pay for a tribe card, or if you don't want to pay for it, you have the option of either holding it in your hand or discarding it. You are only allowed to have 1 tribe card in your hand at a time. If you ever get a tribe card and you do not pay to play it, and you already have a card in your hand, then you must immediately discard the tribe card that you just got. You are not allowed to exchange a tribe card in your hand for another one, and you are not allowed to simply discard a tribe card. The only way to get rid of a tribe card is to use the noble border card, which I'll get to in a moment. There are several tribe cards that come with the game, and each of them have 4 things you need to know. First, each one will have a cost in the top right corner, and these will always be some combination of either gold or goods. Second, on the bottom right corner of each of these cards will have 1 to 3 victory point symbols. That is how many points each of these tribe cards will be worth. Third is the symbol that is on the left side of each of these tribe cards. There are 5 symbols that come on these tribe cards: camps, Targias, oasis, camel riders, and wells. I'll explain why those are important when we talk about the endgame. Lastly, some of these cards will have text written toward the middle of the card. These are advantages that these tribe cards can give you. Some of these are one-time effects that happen immediately. Others are special abilities that you will have for the rest of the game. Each player is going to be using the tribe cards that they buy throughout the game to create their own display. The display that the players will be creating will be consisting of up to 3 rows of tribe cards with up to 4 cards in each row. The cards will be displayed from left to right, and you do not have to finish one row before starting on the next. Each player can work on multiple rows at the same time. However, one thing to remember is that once you place a card in a row, that card stays there for the rest of the game. Now that the tribe cards are out of the way, we can start talking about the remaining actions that are on the border cards, starting with the noble card. If you have a tribe card in your hand, you can then choose to either place it in your display by paying the cost or discard it. The trader action allows you to exchange 3 goods of the same type for a gold or 2 goods of the same type for another good. And you can do this as many times as you want, as long as you are taking that action. If you take the Fata Morgana action, you can take one of your tribe markers that is on one of the center cards and move it to another center card, as long as it is not occupied by the other player's tribe marker. The silversmith allows you to exchange goods or gold for points. You can exchange 2 goods of the same type for 1 point, 4 goods of the same type for 3 points, 1 gold for 2 points, or 2 gold for 4 points. One thing to note though is that you can only do this one time when you take the action. If you take the caravan action, you will draw the top card of the goods deck and you will collect whatever is listed on that card. In this example, I get to choose whether I want to receive 1 date, 1 salt, or a pepper. The tribal expansion action allows you to draw the top card of the tribe deck, and you get to choose whether to place it in your display by paying its cost, or to keep it in your hand, or to discard it. After both players have taken all of their actions, the round is over. When the round ends, all of the tribal cards and goods cards that have been placed face down in the center area will be turned face up. One thing to note is that at the end of the round, you cannot have more than 10 goods and or 3 gold. If you end the round with more than 10 goods or 3 gold, then you must return any extras that you have to the supply. You do, however, get to choose what extra stuff that you get to return. During the round, however, you are allowed to have a larger quantity of goods and gold in order to pay for tribe cards or exchange at the trader or silversmith. The player who has the starting marker will give that to the opposing player, and you will start a new round, starting with advancing the robber. Whenever the robber moves over to one of these raid cards, a raid occurs and the players must discard whatever is shown on the raid card. Starting with the current first player, each player will decide whether to give up the points that are listed on the card, or the goods that are listed on the card, or the gold that is listed on the card if it is the final raid. The robber is then immediately moved to the next border card, and players will place their targies like normal. The game will end at the end of a round when one player plays their 12th tribe card. If the current starting player ends the game, the opposing player still gets 1 complete turn to carry out all of their actions for that round. The game can also end if the robber reaches the final raid card. If this happens, each player will either pay 1 gold or 3 points, and then the game ends immediately. You will then proceed to scoring. In order to determine your score, you will count the silver crosses that are shown on each of the tribe cards that are in your display. Make sure to check the text on your tribe cards because some of them will allow you to earn additional points. For example, this one says, at the end of the game, if you have 10 or more cards in your display, you will get an additional point. This says you receive 1 additional point for every 2 Oasis cards in your display. You will also get 4 bonus points if you have a complete row of cards where the tribe symbol is all the same. For example, this row is complete with all camel riders, so you will get 4 points. You will also get 2 bonus points if you have a complete row where all the symbols are different. For example, this row is complete with 4 cards, and they're all a different symbol, so that will allow you to get 2 bonus points. This row, however, is not complete, so you cannot gain any bonus points for this row. And make sure to count every victory point token that you still have at the end of the game. Whoever has the most points is the winner. In the case of a tie, the player who has the most gold wins. If there is still a tie, then the player who has the most goods wins. If there's still a tie, then both players share the win. And that's everything you need to know in order to play Targi. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to know my thoughts on Targi, or if you want more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more tutorials, reviews, and unboxings. Thank you all as always so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.